Welcome to the Corporate Treasury 101 podcast. This is the third and final part of our full episode with Sloane Kolt from Datarails, where we learn more about Datarails, its applications for treasurers, and the future of AI developments at Datarails. In the episode of today, expect to learn Datarails and its offerings for treasury departments. How does Datarails incorporate AI into its solutions, especially for cash flow forecasting? What future developments in AI Sloane foresees that could further transform treasury operations? How can treasury professionals prepare for these future changes and developments? And like always, much more. We were very much looking forward to this series of episodes, as this is the first time we get to talk about FP&A on this very podcast. Financial planning and analysis has lots in common with treasury, but also lots of interdependencies and, of course, synergies. It was really refreshing to explore this with Sloane. We truly hope you will enjoy the episode. If that is the case, and when you're thinking about how you found our podcast, chances are that it was through word of mouth, social media, or a recommendation from your favorite podcast platform. And this is our only request to you. Please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, if you enjoyed the episode, of course. It only takes 5 seconds, will help other people learn more about treasury, and this will mean the world to us. On another note, this episode is brought to you by Automation Boutique. Automation Boutique is empowering treasury, finance, and risk management with tailored automation solutions. They believe treasury and finance can lead your organization strategically, drive innovation, and provide key insights. We partnered with Automation Boutique as we really like their approach to innovation and how they help the treasury industry. For this specific partnership, they came up with an automation scan that can help you see if there are automation opportunities in your internal processes. It is totally free, non-intrusive, and only takes about 10 minutes. If you want to have a look, head to the link in the description or head to automationboutique.com/corporate treasury 101. With all that being said, please welcome Sloane Kolt.
So amazing, yeah, indeed. Like people's game, I think I like what you said about giving people the assurance that they're not going to be replaced with AI, but also helping them upskill, right, around it. So if someone is just trained in data entry, get them to do something interesting, meaning help train them into a role that perhaps can't be as automated as easily, or is yet to be automated, let's say, and then that cycle has been running since the Industrial Revolution, right? So that makes complete sense. What about and again, the people listening are treasurers, right? Treasurers are quite practical people and risk-averse people in general. What's the right, practical tips in terms of, I don't know, infrastructure, data flow, data pipeline? What if any old company can't just come in and jump right to the top of your technology roadmap and just go implement AI, right? You need to have at least maybe be off of Excel. Is that a good place to start? That your treasury shouldn't be in Excel anymore first, and it should be in some sort of structured database, or how would you say it?
Depends what you mean by off of Excel. And as a Datarails person, I'm going to be a little biased here because we utilize Excel as a tool, but you actually maintain data in your database. So it's a little bit more complex. I personally love Excel. I think it's a fantastic tool. I think first off, the first rule, this is true of any implementation. It's extra true when it comes to AI, garbage in, garbage out. If you are having a computer look through your data and try to help make decisions and your data's a mess, well, guess what? Your results are going to be even worse. So make sure, and this is, I think, it's true always, you want to have good data hygiene. You want to make sure you have good processes in place. Implementing AI is not a magic bullet to fix your data issues. If you haven't figured out as an organization how to do that, focus on that first. Focus on that first before you do anything anyway. So make sure that you have good data to work with, period. So I think there's first off, I can't speak to specific treasury tools. I've never used them aside from evaluating like automated bank reconciliation via SAP S/4HANA. Aside from that, and that's only one small piece of it. So I don't have the expertise to talk about Treasury tools specifically. However, what I can say outside of Datarails, right? You can't use Datarails for Treasury. So if you utilize a platform, and I'll talk within the realm of Datarails, but what you would need before Datarails, right? So anybody needs to have an ERP, right? You need to have some way to gather data. I don't think you need, I would say the more data you have, the more useful AI is for you, right? Because at a certain day, if you only have a few transactions, everything you need to make the pros and cons as to whether it's worth it for your business, whether it'll actually enhance your business. The bigger your business, the more likely the answer is yes. And if you just have, a very, very, very small business, $1 million a year, you're probably okay skipping it, although I'm sure you can still find utility in it. You need to make sure that you have good data hygiene. You need to make sure that you have a way, accurate ways to measure your data. You have good visibility into your AR, your AP, especially for Treasury, right? And your capital, planning, all of that. And then after that, you can use tools like Datarails. There are other tools out there. Again, I'm not as familiar from a Treasury perspective, so I don't want to comment there. But basically where you can start databasing your information, being able to pull your information for long periods of time so that you can actually start building those patterns. And if you do, also, again, if you have, for example, if you wanted to do the chat bot on your policies, right, you have to actually have the corpus of your policies first to be able to work with that. But being able to have access to your data, and also sometimes the smaller your business, right, the more likely you are to have a tool like an ERP that doesn't connect to anything. Again, you have to make those decisions. Do you upgrade your ERP so that you can get access to your data and, get it out of that system? Are you using a proprietary system that, for whatever reason, the programmers didn't program it and they're not here anymore and we don't know how to deal with it? You got to make those kinds of decisions for your business because you want to look forward, right, and make those plans. If you do use a tool like Datarails, you can take what's flowing out in your ERP, and if you have even if you have models that you're using in Treasury, you can database what's happening in those models so that you can pull them when you look at other models and you make comparisons and do all sorts of really, really cool things. Again, I'm super biased when it comes to Datarails, but it's a really, really cool tool that would help anybody in FP&A or Treasury be able to make better models. You can pull your actuals in very, very easily. And from there, you can start doing some different analysis. It is important to say that for Datarails, the predictive analytics, which I've talked about so much on this episode, are upcoming. They're not in our current tool because we want to make sure we get it right. We feel very strongly about that. We're all like finance people, so the numbers being, reliable, very important to us. So it's something that is on our product roadmap, but not in the current AI tool set that we allow customers access to currently. But yeah, make sure your data is great. Make sure you have a system that you actually can connect to it. And then I'll have to actually defer to you both on what actually else there could be from a Treasury perspective. For me, I just see data, right? So you need to pull in all of the different places that you might. Having access to your bank statements is actually probably a good thing, which, by the way, if you don't have electronic bank statements, you probably utilize computer vision if you have a bank for whatever reason that doesn't want to cooperate with you there. You have to determine whether the bank's worth your buck, how many bank accounts you have, all that kind of thing, how many transactions you have. But those are the kinds of decisions you should take before you implement AR.
Super interesting. Thank you so much. I think you've already started going into it, Sloane, but take us into what Datarails does exactly. Like, what is Datarails? What is their offering? And perhaps, I understand perhaps it's got quite a big FP&A swing on it, but we do know treasurers using it for treasury departments also. That's kind of how we got interested in your tool through a treasurer. So how could Datarails be used for treasury departments?
Listen, how many people listening use Excel to model things out? Okay, you might use other tools to model things out as well.
Excel, maximum Power BI.
So you're using tools to help you generate different models, scenarios, try and understand, make the decisions about what you're going to do with your cash and how you're, whatever, are you going to invest it? Does this have the right ROI? Is it, well, not the right ROI, but does it have the right, the right cash trajectory for you? Excel is a tool that we inherently believe in. There've been, for many, many years, people have talked about its impending death, and yet here it is. And the reason is that it's an incredibly versatile, flexible tool. So no matter what your business is, Excel can work with your business, because guess what? It can be whatever you want it to be. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, Datarails basically takes, and we can integrate with systems. If you had ERPs or other systems that you're utilizing, we can integrate with those systems. We can also use manual uploads of data, and we basically bring it into our Datarails system, where we can systematize things like data manipulations, your ETL processes, and make sure that whatever your data set needs to look like, at the end of the day, you have a clean database that you can then use to query and using Datarails. And we have an Excel add-in where you can access things via formula. You can build all sorts of crazy, amazing models. I have had conversations with customers that are, just getting access to Datarails, and like the twinkling in their eyes starts happening when they're like, "Oh, I could model that out. That's so cool." So basically, you're able to have the power of the database right within your Excel file. Without it creating like a huge, if anybody's used Hyperion in the past, I don't know how often that pops up in Treasury, you end up with a huge data set in your Excel file, and it's super great, but your Excel file takes about 5 years to run. So instead of that, you actually have direct access to your Datarails database via the formulas, tables. We also have a web environment where you can do dashboards. You can, think about scenario analysis. We also have AI tools, including our FP&A Genius, which is where you can, as I alluded to earlier, you can ask the Genius questions, right? So, how do I guess you could say, how's my cash trending this year? And other questions where it's going to pop up and give you a graphical explanation as well as a textual explanation. And you'll get that answer very, very quickly, much faster than I think even the fastest Excel gurus could do it, though I haven't tested that out yet. It's a really, really cool tool. I, of course, am an extremely, extremely, extremely biased, so take it all for someone who's very prejudiced towards Datarails. I really like working with it because it allows me the flexibility and freedom to model as I like, while still having access to my data and not creating crazy Excel sheets that crash every 6 seconds. So that's my piece. And I actually do think from a treasury perspective, because you do model so often, you're utilizing that prior history of data, actually would be very, very useful for most treasury accounts.
Yeah. And actually, to touch upon some of the points you mentioned, really related to treasury, like have visibility on your cash. Typically, you mentioned electronic bank statements earlier. That's typically something you could, let's say, extract in a CSV format, put it in an Excel database, and then create models around this, having proper cash positioning visualization tools. And then you can extend it to cash flow forecasting, right? And here goes the AI aspect of it, when you can leverage what you have been doing in your Excel models and powered by the Datarails, and then input some type of AI intelligence there, and just make sure to have a proper cash flow forecasting tool that is not only predictive, but also enabled and powered by AI. Super interesting. So is there any other future developments in AI that you foresee that can further transform treasury operations? And maybe making the link with Datarails developments, are you working on some stuff that could be coming without revealing any sensitive information? I see I see that might be a sensitive topic, but in general, make us dream. What could be the application of AI in the future? Maybe starting from this point of Datarails and then expanding it further.
Well, so as I alluded to earlier, Datarails is going to be adding predictive analytics functionality, as well as a lot of very accessible what-if analysis, which actually would be, I think, very relevant to treasury, right?
Stress test.
I don't know. What if we changed our payment terms? Like, what does that look like, right? If all other things are equal, being able to get quick answers like that without having to, spend too much time on it, I think is going to be pretty awesome. So those are things that are going to be coming to Datarails in the future. Outside of Datarails, overall developments in AI, I think my suspicion on what is going to be next that will be the most game-changing, I should put a bet with this on someone somewhere. Autonomous agents, I don't know how much you've talked about that with your listeners. I personally see that as the future of AI. And autonomous agents are basically where you have an AI agent, right? And you sort of give it a task, and then it goes and figures out all the other tasks it needs to do to figure out how to complete that task. So you can say, hey, I want to research blah, 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 blah. And it's going to be like, okay, so I know I have to, so here's the first step. It breaks it up into different steps and says, okay, so I have to research, part X first and understand that. And once I understand that, then I can do this, and that's this, and then this, and then this. We do have autonomous agent tools right now. The jury so far says that they're not very good. But I think that that's the most interesting application that I can think of, because it opens up an entire world of AI. I want to say decision-making, but it's not quite decision-making. I am not in the camp that thinks that, well, I don't know. This is like an interesting, we could get a very theoretical debate about the sentience or not of AI and whether that's possible. But I think the future of AI is going to be about these agents, because it is going to be about doing complex tasks and wider, more general tasks than what we have today, which is very, you can get good answers, but you have to be very, very specific about what you're looking for. It's narrow. It's not a one look at it. That's my suspicion on where the next big developments in AI are going to come from.
Super good. Yeah, I think autonomous agents are an interesting one. I think, there's trust element still remains with them a little bit, right? To let an AI go off and make its own decisions and everything like that is starts sounding a bit Terminator-y. So it's
I think there are serious ethical concerns and guardrails that we all need to think about. I think that in the basic format, autonomous agents are probably not anywhere near the Terminator, view of AI. But it doesn't mean that, in the near future, I don't want to say in the future.
Have you seen what Boston Dynamics is doing? Like, you merge
Scary.
that with that, and then, Sarah Parker is under threat again. So, like, it's
Sarah Connor, no?
Sarah Connor. Anyway, Sloane, this one.
Those, in all reality, though, you are going to see robotics. And first of all, Boston Dynamics is using very sophisticated AI already. That is how the robots are doing what they do. They're combining the robotic, the mechanical engineering and the robotics pieces of it, and electrical engineering alongside software that is making decisions about how to stay stable when getting knocked over and how to do a flip and all of this stuff. Boston Dynamics.
Maybe less relevant to AI, to Treasury at the moment. Super cool.
I think so, yeah.
So we can have a conversation on a separate podcast about that another time. Awesome. Sloane, thank you so much for your time today. Any final thoughts or insights you'd like to share on the topics we've discussed, or anything else people should know about AI in FP&A, Treasury, the combination between the two, or just about Datarails that you'd like to share?
I'm going to say that I think that the most important thing that anybody should walk away with today, if you haven't explored AI, start playing with it, start getting comfortable with it. The truth of it is, and I've mentioned this on some other conversations that I've had, think of it in the way that you think of Excel. There was a treasury, there was a finance before Excel, and there was after Excel. AI is going to be similar. It's going to take, a while for it to start getting introduced, but it provides a tremendous utility and companies are going to take advantage of it. Upskill yourself, get comfortable with it, know its limitations, know when you can use it and when you shouldn't use it, right? That's my biggest, honestly, that's the one thing if anybody walks away with today, I think that's what they should walk away with. Start learning, start feeling comfortable with it. The world is going to change, although I think not as drastically as some folks that, were told, at least in the current world. But lots of things are going to change, and the way that you do things, the way that you approach things are going to start to shift. So get comfortable with it. It's not that scary. It's super interesting. It's going to enhance your life if you use it properly. It's one thing.
Amazing. Sloane, thank you so much for coming on the show. If people would like to know more about you, Datarails, what you guys do, where should they go?
You can always reach us on our website, datarails.com. Reach out on LinkedIn. More than happy to chat with folks. And thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Pleasure. Thanks a lot, Sloane. We'll put all the links in the description. Thank you so much for coming on the show.